So welcome along to part 3 of fixing the John Cooper Works factory car, and we start where we left off by jet washing down the engine to get rid of all that oil and built up grease, and I think we can all agree that the after result is much better. We also look at the front and rear subframes in this video, and you can watch me wear myself out trying to pump power steering fluid out of a reservoir. So let's get involved, and I hope you enjoy the video.
We're going to drop the subframe. Taken the near side strut off completely with the hub, and obviously just left the drive shaft hanging by cable ties. Done the same on this side, but we have a bungee cord there, so I'm going to cable tie that up in a minute. Do the same thing. This corrosion on here is just surface, so what we're going to do is drop the subframe off and give that a good painting up with some Buzzweld. To drop the subframe, had to just take off the steering knuckle UJ down there. It's a 13mm, and then just lift the joint back. Wheels are both facing straight at the moment, so obviously when we go to put it back on, should just be a straight swap. Undone the 10mm on here, drained this out, which I'll cut in now to show you how long that took. Time lapse it because I was there for ages. It's got the wrong colour power steering fluid in it, so it's probably a good job that we are dropping the subframe to give it a clean up and put them new bushes on the back. So yeah, all I need to do is drop the subframe down slightly, disconnect the power steering connections, so the signal wire and the pump. I've left the fan off from when we've done the sump gasket, and I've left the lower engine mount off. So that's where we're at. So yesterday, obviously, we repositioned the axle stands so they're under the jacking point now. They were underneath the subframe to begin with. I haven't put any oil in the engine because I'm going to swap over the oil cooler O-rings and the filter housing gasket while the subframe is off, because that will make it a lot easier to do. Just cable tie up the other drive shaft because at the moment that's resting on the subframe. I want it just enough. Just enough. There we go. So that I can move the drive shaft in there if I need to. So I drop it like that. Make sure the ABS wiring and brake pad wear is removed. Brake pad wear sensor on the front passenger side actually just fell off, so that's handy. There we go. So, I think these are 16mm under here. 18. Let's just check quickly. Yeah. Wow. Straight out. Nice. Right, let's go and get the jack. Now, if you have a very thin but strong piece of wood, this would be the time to stick it under there. As it stands, I don't have that, but I do have a big pad on the jack. Wiring off. There we go. Let's do it like that for a sec. Let's get a torch so we can get in there. You've definitely had a leak down here. just over the drive shaft for now. It should be good to come out. Let's do. Make sure that the power steering fluid bowl comes through. There we go. So, first impressions. It's quite dirty. Sort of oil around here. A bit on there we need to sort out. But crucially, considering the way it looked, it's actually pretty solid, which is good news. So yeah, I'm not overly bothered about that so far, to be honest. Quite happy. Let's see how we get on with these anti-roll bar bolts. I've had issues with them in the past, so I've had to really heat them up to get them out. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, subframe out. Heat. This always happens with these bolts. Ugh. Heat is always a good friend with these. Just had to be a bit persistent, unfortunately. Well, while we are waiting, you can have a look at the state of these. And see they're all split in there. It's all falling apart inside, which obviously is not good. And on this side, it's similar story. You can see down here it's all cracked. The fact that I'll show you in there. Well, I'll show you in a minute when we get them off. Wait for it to cool down, but they're pretty bad. So yeah, I'll leave the subframe like that for now. We'll wait for it to cool down and then we'll come back. So here's another interesting little tidbit of this car. that down there is exactly how it was when the subframe come off, and it's not undoing. So I'll put a bit of heat on it and then try and get that off as well.
So doing these pushes is never fun on a Mini, and especially on the R50 generation cars. So the easiest way that I found to get these off is to just get the lower arm onto a couple of bricks. And the reason I'm putting a brake disc underneath it is just to catch anything that's burnt off of there when we use the torch in a minute to try and burn through that rubber outer. And once we've managed to get through a portion of this, what we're going to do then is get an angle grinder and cut a slit down that metal sleeve on the inner, and then use a pry bar basically to just split it open and slide it off. So I'll leave you with a little bit of footage on how we've managed to do this. If you do use the angle grinder, all you need to do is cut through the outer sleeve. So just make sure that you go very gently and just keep checking to make sure you're not going through the actual arm itself.
Right, it's tough, isn't it?
So just to put this out there now, this is not an approved BMW technique, as I'm sure you're about to notice, but the way that I got the bushes on is to put them into place, put a small amount of grease onto the arm itself and line up the bushes the right way around, and then give them a few sturdy hits with a club hammer. Now, the second one of these was a real struggle and it wouldn't quite go on the same. So what I've ended up doing here is the same thing, a little bit of grease onto the lower arm, put the bush into place, make sure it's the right way around, take a little bit of time to make sure they are lined up properly, and then as you'll see in a minute, giving it a few good sturdy hits against this pallet with that plastic coating on top. Hasn't damaged the bushing in any way at all, but it has solved the problem of getting that suspension bush onto the arm without having to take time out of the day to go to a garage and get it pressed on. If you've got a garage nearby and you're quite friendly with them, take them there, get them to press them on. So with the subframe and the exhaust manifold out the way, it makes perfect sense to have a look at this oil cooler and filter housing gasket. Now, I've bought the gaskets and the O-rings already, so we're just going to take out the 3 bolts that hold this on and change them while we've got a chance to. You can do this while the subframe and the exhaust manifold is in place, but it's very difficult. And if you're at this stage, for the sake of less than £15, I would just change them while you've got a chance to. As well as the aforementioned 3 bolts, there are also 2 hose clips that hold those hoses onto those hard coolant lines. They need to be removed. If they've been on a car for a long time, they will be probably quite stiff, so you will have to play around with them a little bit to get them loose. Once the filter housing comes off, it's very common for the gasket to remain on the block. It might be quite hard and come off in pieces. Just make sure you remove the whole thing before mounting your new one into place, otherwise you will have an oil leak as soon as you start the car. There are 4 T30 bolts that hold the oil cooler to the filter housing. You can remove those, and then just bear in mind when you put them back on to use a torque wrench, which I'll discuss now.
It's like only like 9 Newton meters. If you do any more than that, you actually risk squashing the O-rings. And you don't want to be doing that because you'll just have an oil leak to contend with. So let's just move you around slightly so you can see it a little bit better. Right, so these O-rings are terrible design. You can do these on the car through the driver's side wheel arch, but it's probably going to take you longer than it would do to drop the whole housing off the car. Now, that's the bottom of it. That's where the O-rings sit. If you imagine this is upside down on the car, you can see why you're going to struggle to get it done up. So let's clean this up. Get a bit of brake cleaner on it. Now, ideally, you would have a pick. I don't have any picks. So I'm going to use my smallest screwdriver, which is already broken, but there we go. Just going to do this away from the camera. I'm going to spray this out with some brake cleaner down here and on there. Okay. So when you buy these, they are not oval like these are. They are round. And that probably explains why there is an issue fitting them sometimes. Now, when it's off the car, you can just plop them in like that and they will stay in there. But when they are on the car, they just fall out. What is all this? Right, here we go. So they just sit there like so. And then this needs to go back on. So sits like so. Right. This has little rubber spiky bits on the side that help hold it all in place. So this should be fairly simple. Make sure it's nice and flat. Make sure no bits are sticking up. These aren't expensive from BMW. If you have to order one from there, I think they're only like £5-6. O-rings, the oil cooler are £2-3 each. If you're doing this on the car, I would advise you to buy at least one spare in case you drop it. Because if you do what I did, and you drop it on the subframe, you'll never find it. Just make sure that's on there properly. It's good. Let's give it some oil. Right. I think we're good to put that back on the car. So let me take you back over there. We have everything out of the way. You imagine what this would be like. Subframe was there. And the yeah, the subframe was there. And the exhaust manifold. Mate, you'd be screwing. I've been there before. I've been screwing. Like this. Too bad. I don't say it's the way forward to do it because it's not. But if you're at this stage and you're doing all this work, mate, it's a doddle. Prime time. Time, mate. So we've got 2 in so far. I should put a 3rd one in as well. Just make sure they all line up. Oh, do me a favour. Move out of the way. Oh, all right, there we go. So I'm just going to do these up tight enough. So it just nips it, and then we'll go around and torque it up before we put the coolant hoses back on. Is that one in? Could do with the extension really, but this subframe here, there was an MOT advisory on structural corrosion, and I think it's down to this. So that's quite solid. That's quite solid. But I was putting around with a screwdriver. You can see yeah. You can see all that crap falling out of there. Look. It's a massive bit there. Oh, mate. Yeah, yeah. So, obviously, you can see all along here, all of that, and that shouldn't be there. The hole, that should be there, but all this shouldn't. And if I put that, you can see. So, we need to change this subframe. And what I'm thinking is get rid of this altogether. So, rather than just changing this bit of the subframe here, which you can see, is to get an R56 one because that'll have these arms, subframe, and new struts as well, because obviously they've seen better days as well, like down here, and these covers that go on here. If I take that off, see, oh, I don't even know if it'll come off. Let me see if I can screw it on there. Put it down for a sec, and I'll try and get that cover off the bottom because you'll see what I mean. It traps so much water. There we go. Let me zoom you in on that. That's what we're looking at there. Right. You can hear it crunching away. AMSR fans, be well happening. Look at it. Look at the state of that. Look at that. And they just trap water in there. So if you got these on your car and these bolts are in decent condition, take them off. Just take them off. It's not worth it. This bit of heat shielding here, I've had to bend that out of the way. I've got a new piece for there, a new piece for under the exhaust as well from BMW. Picked them up this morning, I think. So I'm not overly bothered about the fact this is bent down. The thing that actually does bother me is the fact that there's a rusty bolt, I think, like a washer on one of these sides. I'm going to try and get that off. So, yeah, what we need to try and do now is basically disconnect all this set out of the way so we can drop the subframe down. So what we need to do is basically get this cable here back through the floor, just tuck it up underneath the car for now. So I'm going to get our trim tool, lift that up. There's a 13mm nut on here that holds this together, and this is the SRS that goes into here. That just has a little tab on the side of it. On there, you just push that in, pull it up. That's it. So let me pull that back through there, get it out, and I'll show you what we're going to do with that. Well, that one's through. And that one's through. So, yeah, they have like a metal bit there, sort of locks into place, which is good. But when you're trying to get it off the car, it's a pain. So, in theory, this one should just come out. This glove has had it. Right. So now, what we do is to get this power cable out. Oh, nice bit of rust come off there with it. Power cable in. That's your power cable there that goes under from the bonnet jump point. It comes all the way along here, up here. There. And it comes in here. It goes up to that bolt there, into here, and then into the boot, as you can see. So I'm going to take that off there and just push that back down that way for now. And you can see those two holes there where the handbrake cable was. So let's just get the rest of that off. Which you can see is there. Out. Let's just get there. Where's it gone? There it is. Right. That should allow us to put that down there for now. So let's just check up a bit before feed that back. Let's go in the car. So inspection covers fuel pump, fuel filter, 10 mil. There's a bit of foam. So I'll just take them off like that. Put them in there so I don't lose them. There's 5. Oh. It's glued down, it's just the foam's old. And you can see that is our electrical connection to the fuel pump. Now, to get this off, you have to slide it. Slide it like so. And it should allow you to lift it off like that. And you can see how much gunk has built up on there. So that's the first one done. Let's just go on the other side and get the other.
To keep the video at reasonable time frame, I've removed some of the footage of me removing the tank straps. Now, they are held in by 2 bolts on each strap, 13 mils, and then there is a further bolt that holds the fuel tank up, which is by that bit of heat shielding that's bent down there. Now, there are a couple of caveats, obviously, at this point. If you're planning on doing this yourself, then make sure that the tank is almost empty before you do it, because otherwise you will struggle to get good balance when dropping the tank. And secondly, fuel is extremely flammable, so make sure you store it somewhere where there's good ventilation. If you're planning on leaving the tank outside, make sure you pop a cover over it so you don't get any water in the tank. If it rains, which it does on a regular basis here in the UK, and when dropping the tank, make sure you've got a good sturdy piece of wood to put in the center of it to give you some good balance, and also don't put your jack directly onto the fuel tank because you don't want to pierce it by accident.
I'm not sure whether tank thing's got to come off or not. It actually does. Let's put that there for a minute. I want to see how that sits on there. That's 2 tank pins. Some on the other side as well. Other than that, it should be alright. Oh. Tank is off, and you can see there's surface corrosion along there. Just need to remember that that bent feed on that side goes behind the line that comes up, so when we put the tank back in, we have to make sure we feed it in that way. So yeah, I'm going to go in the car, just move that over the other side just so it doesn't break anything, and then we can get on with it. I mean, I know this looks not great, but it's not the worst I've seen, and as long as it's wire brushed off and painted up, it should be absolutely fine. So let me get on with that. I'll put you back outside, we'll get the tank out of the way, get that under cover, and yeah, move on to the next stage. Oh, there we go. One fuel tank out. Yeah, there's hardly anything in that tank. Hardly anything, probably there's nothing in that tank. Alright. And this is what we have left. Nice. So we can clean all this up, we can paint it. I think all the bolts are undone on the axle. So brake lines are cut. Top suspension struts are undone. I may have to take the back bumper off, but let's just see whether the axle is loose first of all. Sounding good so far. Let's just check that. Yeah. It's definitely loose. Oh. I just got to move this out of the way. Push what tips over. Right. It's off, but it's not off enough. I think it's resting on the side. There we go. It's resting on the side scan. Let's check this. That's right. Let's pull that right. There we go. Excellent. All right. There we go. Oh. That looks better. Yes. Crusty. Very crusty. But it is off. So we will get that into the back garden. There we go. Zoom out a little bit. I did take the caliper off the other side, but it's just easier to take them off when I'm off the car. So from here, it doesn't look too bad, but underneath that subframe has had it. So yeah. Right. Let's have a quick look under the car. So it doesn't look too bad. I'm gonna clean all this up, and then get painting. Okay, get them brake lines out of the way first of all. So let's do that. This one. Oh wow, that. Oh, just literally move that one out the way there, and it just snapped completely. So, oh, oh, let's lift you up and put you. There we go. It doesn't matter how old your R50, 52 or 53 Mini is, I can guarantee you that because there is no underseal in this area, your car will look similar to this. So I spent hours underneath the car. I didn't video it all because it would be completely boring to watch. I did do a live stream with some of it going on. But basically, I've wire brushed underneath. We've used some rust treatment on there. And I've ordered up some Buzzweld to paint all underneath the car and make it look nice and smart. So next time you'll see me painting the underside of the car, getting the new brake lines in place, and finally we start to get some new parts on order from BMW. So we get down there, pick them up, and we start rebuilding the car. So thanks for watching. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing, and I'll catch you on the next video.